Well, good morning. Welcome to Grandma Roseanne's kitchen. And boy, we're going to make something super spectacular. I mean, we're going to take something that's good and we're going to move it to super spectacular. We're going to make a French dip. Now, I assume probably most of you have had a French dip. You know what that is. It's a beef in a roll and you dip it into an au jus and you eat it and it's scrumptious. Well, you can make it any way you want. So if you make it with a roast, just say a regular roasted chuck roast, that is very good. If you make it with prime rib, it's better. But if you up your game and you make it with filet mignon, it is the best ever. Oh my gosh, you guys. What I did is I took a full filet and then I took 2 chunks of the center cut. Now the ends of the filet, if you've bought a full filet, you know that they taper down. So your cooking distribution time is different on those. So I cut the edges off. I took the 2 large chunks in the middle and the other edges that I cut off, we're gonna use for kebabs. It'll be a kebab on the grill. It'll be fantastic. So what we want to do is understand, first of all, this is the easiest recipe you are ever going to make with the most delicious result to it. Now, what I have done is I have got some oil in the pan here, and what this oil is doing is just getting up to temperature, and I want it just about to smoking. While this is doing what it's doing, what I'm doing here is I'm going to season the meat. So we have some salt, and I'm doing quite a bit of it because I have full intention of canning this. So I want to make enough when I make it one time that I can just do multiple meals out of it. This is onion powder and a little bit of garlic powder. You just want it nicely seasoned, just like that. And you want to season it all over. So this is warm enough now. It is starting to smoke. So I'm going to put it in carefully. And I'm going to put that one with it carefully. And now I will be able to season this side of it. Salt, pepper, onion powder, and a little bit of garlic powder. Now, what you want to do here, and this is really important, you want to develop a very good crust on this. And you're wanting to do that for a couple of reasons. One is, when you do this, you're sealing the meat. You're holding all of those fabulous juices inside the meat. The other thing is that's where your most intense flavor is going to be when you actually slice that. So you want to be sure that you give this enough time to really develop the crust. We're going to do it on the top, on the bottom, on the sides, and on the ends. So we will be rotating this all the way around and doing what we need to do with it. So, all right, well, we have been browning the filet mignon, and we have got a really nice crust on that. So you see what I'm telling you? Don't be afraid to really let it really develop, because that crust is just going to seal in all of the juices. This probably took about 25 minutes with both of them in there. So you can adjust your time, just kind of watch it, but make sure you turn it and you get all sides and the ends. That's most important. Now I have kicked my oven up to 400 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in here, and it'll probably be in there for maybe only 15 minutes because I want it medium rare. And medium rare on a digital thermometer is going to be about 125 degrees. So we will check it because that's really important to have the right temperature on this. So here we go. I'm going to set my alarm for 10 minutes. And if you have a real aversion to medium rare, you can go a little bit longer on this, but I really wouldn't recommend anything over medium because once you start getting to well done, it just toughens the meat. And you'll see that as we complete it, it's going to go into an au jus, so it's going to even cook a little bit more, okay? So we will be back in 10 or 15 minutes. All right, well, this has been in for just about 15 to 18 minutes, so it cooks really quickly, and it's a very thick piece of meat, so you watch it when you're doing yours. So I pulled it out of the oven, and this is exactly where I wanted it to be for medium rare. It's 128 degrees internal. Be sure that when you are checking your internal that you push it all the way down to the middle so you get that true reading. And also be careful if you are doing something with a bone in it, you don't want that thermometer to hit that bone because you'll get a skewed reading on that. So what we're going to do now is just transfer it over. And I am going to use a fork to help do this, to stabilize moving it. But if you'll notice, I never used a fork at all when I was getting ready to do this. Every time you punch it, before you cook it, it's going to seep out the juices. And I wanted to keep all the juices in there. So now this is just helping me move it over. Look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two gorgeous pieces of filet into my refrigerator, and I want them to cool down because we're going to slice them very, very, very thin. It's hard to slice meat thin when it's like this, when it's this hot. But what you do want to do is remove it from the pan, because if you left it in the pan while the pan is cooling down, the juices are sucking back up into the meat. Now that's a good thing if you're just having a steak, but we want that juice for the au jus. So I want to be sure and remove it. We're going to let it cool down, and then I will be back in a little bit, and I'll show you the finishing end of it, and it's so easy. So what we have done is we have allowed these to chill a little bit, just so that they're going to be easier for cutting. Now, you have the ability to take a very sharp knife and very thinly, as thinly as you can, you want to cut along with the grain. I have a slicer here, which is wonderful. These are not expensive. I think they're about $60, but if you bake bread like I do, it slices bread to perfection. My meats to perfection. I buy cheese, and I buy a lot of stuff in bulk, and then I just slice it ever so quickly. So one of these is really good. But like I said, if you don't have one, don't let that be a problem. So we just stick it on there. We're going to turn it on and slice. Now I want to check to see if that's the width that I want. And that is the width that I would prefer for French dip. It is so easy and so good. And you can see it's just like at a medium rare. It's so delicious. So let me cut this through, and then I'll show you when I get a little bit further into it. In case you're using one of these, you want to be able to use the guard at all time. So give me a couple minutes. So what we have done is we have taken one of these fillets, and I've done about half of it. What I wanted you to be aware of is that this is like incredibly, incredibly sharp. So always safety first. You're going to use a guard. That guard is going to push that meat up so that your fingers are not doing it. Now when I have a whole one and I can do it with my hand, I do. But when I get to this point, I don't anymore. I'm very, very aware of the damage this blade could do. So now I'll just push it up, and we'll continue, and we'll finish the rest of this and that one, and then I will show you how to make the au jus. All right, so what we have done is gotten the pan that has all of that fond in it, all of those drippings in there, and I'm just heating it up a little bit, scraping it to get every bit of that. Those juices are amazing. Now, I would love to tell you that I know how to make au jus without a package, but I don't. So what I have done is I have gotten McCormick's Au Jus Gravy Mix. And I'm telling you, the chefs would probably be having a fit right now at somebody doing this. But you know what, you guys? It works. And it works really well. So what I have done is I just pop that in there. I'm going to let that absorb into those beautiful juices. All right? And then we're going to put in 1 quart of water, which is what I have here. There. That is 1 quart of water. Ever so delicious. Now, in order to make the sandwich, what we're going to do, I'm going to let this come up to temperature. Then we're going to put the meat in there. And then it's all going to get warm. And then I will show you the sandwich when we're completed. But we're almost done. So what we have got is this has come to a nice simmer. So it's very, very flavorful. And now we're just going to put the meat in. Just like that. We're going to let it warm up. It just takes a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to show you how to assemble the most fantastic French dip sandwich you have ever tasted. So give me 1 second. All right, so we are incorporated. Everything is together. The flavor is amazing in this. So now all I'm going to do is take some of this filet or whatever type of meat you're using. We're just going to pile it in here, nice and beautiful. Just like that. See how pretty that looks? Then we're going to take the au jus and put it in a bowl. Now what I have done is I put this on a hoagie roll, and you can use any kind of roll you want. It's not as good if you try to put it on a hamburger roll because it's not going to be a sturdy enough bread for dipping. But the hoagie roll is nice, and what I did is I grilled it, and so you have those nice char marks that are in there. I just put a little bit of butter in it. Now I'm just going to cut it in half, and when you cut it, if you cut it on an angle, like I did, it's better because now you have a corner that you can actually dip and get all of that beautiful au jus. It's amazing. It really, really is amazing. I hope you make it. I really hope you try it. There's no failure here. Super easy. You can do it in a much smaller portion than I did, okay? You don't have to do what I did, but I'm going to take all the meat and I'm going to count it so that we will have it for many, 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 many sandwiches. So thank you if you enjoyed yourself when you were here in the kitchen with me. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to come back and join me for other videos. And thank you. Bon appetit. Enjoy.